there's a number of reasons that I've started this. One of them mainly because I want to just share my experience, and the second one is that a lot of people have been asking questions about everything, because as you can probably tell by the title if you didn't know already, I'm 15 and pregnant, and people have mixed feelings about teen pregnancy, which I totally get. I just wanted to answer questions that people have had, and I thought this would be the best way to do it. And the third reason is that at the beginning of my pregnancy I watched a lot of videos like this because I just found them nice to watch, because it was really comforting, like seeing that someone else was going through the same situation as me, and I wasn't on my own. So I wrote some things down in a notebook that I just wanted to discuss during this video. The first thing is, it wasn't planned. I had very big plans for life. I never really thought about whether I wanted kids or not. I've always had big dreams for my career, and I wanted to go to college and university, and so yeah, kids never really was in that plan. So if it were my choice, I wouldn't have chose this for myself, like I wouldn't have got pregnant this early. But because of that, I've had many people ask me, then why didn't you get an abortion? Why didn't you put her up for adoption? Like, why are you having her if you didn't want it? And honestly, it's a bit disgusting how people can just ask that, like, oh, why didn't you abort your child? Like, I could never have an abortion. Like, I could never get rid of my child, because as soon as that line came up on the pregnancy test, I felt like I had this like massive responsibility that I had to take control for what I did, and I chose myself to take on that role to be a parent. I have a huge family who supports me, so I knew from the second, like, don't get me wrong, I was terrified to tell my mum. Like, I was so scared, like to the point where I literally didn't want to tell her. And before I chose to keep the baby, I did look into the money side of things, and I did plan it, and I did ask myself, is this just going to be a selfish thing to do? Like, can I bring her into this world and give her everything she deserves? And honestly, I can. Even now, I'm currently 20 weeks, yeah, 20 weeks and 6 days pregnant, and I pretty much got everything for her. The only thing I've got to buy is a cot, but everything else I've literally got. She's got so many clothes, it's actually unreal. But yeah, and having a baby as a teenager isn't the end of the world. It should be a happy thing, like, no matter what age. It's an amazing thing that your body goes through, like growing an actual person inside of me. Like, no matter what age, that will be the biggest accomplishment in my life. And everything I wanted for my future before is still possible. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not as easy as it would have been without a baby, but it is still possible. If I really want that, I will try my hardest to get that with a child. When people think about teenage pregnancies, they think that they have a baby and then get the parents to look after it and don't take any responsibility whatsoever. And yeah, some teenagers are like that, and they don't take control of their own actions. But honestly, I'm not one of those people. Like, finding out I was pregnant changed everything for the better, and it's just, I don't know what I would now. I don't know what I'd be like to not have this child to look forward to and look after and care for. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go on to like like how it started and how I found out. It was really strange because I found out middle of September, so it was just after the 6 weeks holidays. And I was having pregnancy scares through the whole of the 6 weeks. Like 1 week, like nearly every week I'd be like, I'm pregnant, and I'd take the test and it'd come back negative. So in some way I was kind of expecting it. Like we were using contraception. I was on the pill for a little bit, but it was giving me really bad migraines and it was making me feel sick, and it was making my mental health just go downhill. So I came off that. I had a gut feeling that like a couple of days before I took the test, and I was just like, I think I'm pregnant. But I didn't 100% believe it because I'd felt like this for the past 7 weeks. So I texted one of my friends and I was like, I know I've pretty much been thinking this for the past 7 weeks, but I think I'm pregnant, and it's different than the thoughts before. Like, I need to take a test because I think I am. I hadn't really had any symptoms like before that point. But anyway, she brought a test the next day because we were at school, and we took the test, and a couple of minutes later I gave it to her because I was just scared to look at it. And I turned around to my other friend as I gave her the test because I knew it was going to be negative. I knew it was going to be negative because all my other tests had come back negative. And I looked at my friend and I was like, it's negative. And then my other friend who was holding the test, she turned around and she was like, you're pregnant. And to be honest, I didn't really believe her till I actually looked at that test, and then I was like, well, it's got to be faulty. Like, I can't be. And to be honest, it didn't sink in for months afterwards. I found out when I was 2 to 3 weeks pregnant, and it didn't properly sink in till I actually saw her on the screen at my 12-week scan. It was just so surreal. So people asking me, like, did I cry? Like, what was my reaction when I found out? And to be honest, I didn't have one. I was just like, oh, so I'm pregnant. And it's not till the 12-week scan that it properly sunk in. And by that point, I'd known for like 10 weeks. My mum was like, grew to the, like, she was actually looking forward to it now. And so was my boyfriend. So when that actually sunk in, it didn't scare me that much because everyone was around me supporting me. So when it did sink in, I was just happy about it. Like, there was points where I've been like, oh my god, like, how am I going to deal with a baby? Howard told my boyfriend, so we did the test on the way to school on the Monday, and as soon as I found out, I rang him and I was like, I'm pregnant, and he was like, what, for real? And I was like, yeah, for real. And to be honest, he didn't really have a reaction. He was like, oh, okay. And then I had to go into school, so I hung up. He was scared. I know 100% he was scared because, well, who isn't going to be? But it's not till like a couple weeks after he actually found out that he started having a proper reaction to it. And for those weeks, me and him didn't really get on that much because it hadn't properly sunk in with me yet, and he was freaking out about it. like any person would. So I found out on the Monday and I booked a doctor's appointment for the Tuesday. So just go and speak to someone and pretty much go in and confirm that I was actually pregnant, because you never know, like these tests could be faulty and they could tell you you're pregnant and you're like not. So I just wanted to go to the doctors and just confirm it. So I went to the doctors after school the day after and I met my boyfriend there, and two of my friends came with me. One of them was the one I handed the pregnancy test to and pretty much told me I was pregnant. So yeah, we went to the doctors and they waited outside and I went into the room to talk to her. And when I went in, I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant, but I don't know what to do. And what she pretty much said, she didn't make me take a test, she just pretty much went with took my word for it. And she was like, well, you need to tell your mum, and it will help you mentally and physically, like speaking to your mum about it, because she will help you decide what to do. And I was like, right, okay. But at this point I didn't want to tell my mum because I knew she'd freak out. So the doctor was saying all this and in my head I was like, well, I'm not telling my mum, so this advice is completely useless. But the one thing I was scared about was if I didn't tell my mum, was the doctor's going to tell my mum? And I didn't want her to hear it from anyone else because I think she'd react worse if she did. So the doctor booked me an appointment to have an abortion, because she said, obviously I've got a couple of weeks to make my decision on what I want to do, but it's easier to cancel the abortion appointment than to rebook it and fit me in like weeks later. So she left that there and I went home. After the doctors I went to my nonna's because me and my nonna are really close, and I was planning to just give her the pregnancy test and just tell her then. But my granddad was sat there the whole time, and when my mum was pregnant with me, my granddad didn't speak to her at all, and he didn't have the best reaction to it, to be honest. So I didn't really want to tell my nonna while my granddad was sat there, because I'd only pretty much just found out and I didn't want him to freak out. So I didn't end up telling my nonna then. I ended up just going home, and I actually texted her later that night and told her then. I was like, I need to tell you something. And she turned around and she was like, you're pregnant, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. So she told me that I needed to tell my mum. So I was like, right, I should, because at this point I don't know what to do. The doctor's booked me an appointment to have an abortion. Like, I don't want that, but at the same time I need some kind of support here from someone to like help me choose what to do. So I wrote this letter. It was a really long letter and I can't even remember what it said. I think I've still got it in my drawer, and I put it on my mum's bed with the pregnancy test, and she obviously read it, and she came into my room about 20 minutes later, but this was about 10 o'clock at night. So she came in, and when she came in I just freaked out, and I was pretending to be asleep because I was so scared about how she'd react. But yeah, I just texted like 5 minutes afterwards, and I was like, did you come in? And she was like, yeah, can you come in my room, we need to talk. And I went into her room and she was like, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. And she pretty much said that it's not what she wanted for me, obviously, but at the end of the day it is my body and it is my choice, and I'm her daughter, so she will support me through whatever. Like she said, if it was her choice she wouldn't want me to have the baby because I'm still so young and I have got my future ahead of me. And I listened to her, but I still had my mindset on keeping it, like, deep down. So the next day I went to school, and when I got home, she'd wrote this list of like pros and cons pretty much to keeping her, and like the money side of things was on it, school, just the main thing, like even the little things like, oh, you won't be able to go out with your friends anymore at weekends because you'll have this baby to look after. And I looked through that and I was like, well, I don't really go out anyway. And I looked at all these like plans, like of ways to work it out so I actually had enough money to buy everything for her. I ended up texting my mum half an hour later and was like, I want to keep the baby. And she was like, she personally thought I was making a mistake. And a lot of my family had that reaction because I'm still so young. Like, I was 14 at the time and I've only just turned 15 now. So to say you're 14 and pregnant, it's just like, jeez. But yeah, so I ended up keeping the baby and my whole family just got used to it, and now they're like 1,000% supporting me all the way. And I do have the best family ever because I don't know what I'd do without them. So I went, obviously this was only about when I was about a month pregnant. I don't think I'd even missed my period yet. I think I was supposed to be, my period was supposed to be the week after. So about symptoms, I went on holiday at the end of September, and my morning sickness started when I was on holiday, and we were only there for a week and it started like a day in. So I spent nearly all of that week lying in bed with morning sickness, and I got it really bad. It was from like the minute I woke up to the minute I went to sleep, and I was throwing up just constantly, and it was like that. It's only just really stopped. Like, I do still have my like odd days where I feel sick still, and it's only just really stopped. So it was going on till, well, for the past like 14 weeks. So that wasn't great. And obviously I was having loads of time off, so my mum took me to the doctors and I got some anti-sickness tablets, which didn't help whatsoever because I'm not good with tablets. Like, especially, it's not that I'm not good with tablets. When I feel sick and it's in the morning, I can't swallow loads of water. So every time I took a tablet, it'd come back up. So those didn't work. I had to just deal with sickness really. And because obviously with sickness, the school was like, oh, you can come in, you can start school till 10, like at 10. And obviously that wasn't much help because my sickness was all day, but school was like amazing. Like, they have supported me like a lot. Like, right now I'm no longer in school because like last week me and my mum made the decision for me to be homeschooled and do my GCSEs in college, starting in September. But we just think that's the best option because with me pregnant at school, and I don't trust people. Like, the smallest thing could happen. I could get pushed in a hallway and end up in a hospital, and it could change my like life forever. So we didn't really want to take that risk, and I didn't feel safe in school. And with the amount of times, like, the nerves of going to school was making me feel sick, so then I couldn't go to school. So at the moment I am being homeschooled, I'm doing work from home, and then in September, when the baby's here, I'll be going to college. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching.